The truth is harsh, but it's also the reason most men never get the woman they want. It's not because you're unattractive. It's not because you're boring. It's not because women only like bad boys. None of that is the real issue. Most men lose a woman's interest for one simple reason. They give too much, too fast. Before she even feels anything, you're already treating her like she's special. You text her the moment she messages, as if you were waiting with your phone in your hand. You explain everything you do so you don't upset her. You try to convince her you're a good guy, as if she needs proof. And without noticing, you remove the one thing that makes a woman feel desire, the sense that she has to earn you. This is where most men fall apart. They think being available shows effort, but to a woman, it shows predictability. Predictability feels too easy, and easy things lose value fast. You become the man she believes she already understands, the man who won't surprise her, the man who is always there, no matter how little she invests. Comfortable, but forgettable. Women will never admit this directly, but they don't chase what's handed to them. They don't chase what requires no effort. They don't chase what gives itself away before they even try. They chase what feels valuable. They chase what feels like a prize. They chase what feels rare enough to matter, but close enough that they might actually win it. Desire lives in that space. And here's where the entire situation flips on its head. You don't need to upgrade your looks. You don't need to copy someone else's personality. You don't need money, status, or perfect confidence. You don't need to pretend to be cold or uncaring. You don't need to act dominant or play games. You only need one small shift, a shift inside you, in the way you show up, in the energy you bring when you speak to her. A shift so subtle that she can't explain it in words, but strong enough that she feels it every time she thinks of you. That's the trick you're about to learn. The trick that makes her lean forward instead of leaning back. The trick that makes her wonder what you're thinking instead of knowing exactly how you feel every second. The trick that makes her curious, and curiosity is the spark of desire. This is the moment the whole game changes. Not because you chase her better, but because you finally understand that desire doesn't start with her. It starts with you, the mistake that makes her lose interest. Here's the biggest problem almost every man misses. You show interest before she even feels attraction. You open the door too wide before she's even stepped forward. And the moment you do that, the game is already over. Think about what actually happens. The second she replies, you answer instantly, as if her message is oxygen and you've been holding your breath. She tells a basic joke and you laugh like she just performed on stage. She takes a little longer to text back, and suddenly you're overthinking every word you sent. You rewrite your next message 10 times to get the mood right. She goes quiet for a moment, and you feel a wave of panic. So you send another message, just to keep her engaged. From your side, it feels like effort. It feels like being a good communicator. It feels like showing genuine interest. But from her side, it doesn't look confident. It looks disparity. It looks like you're afraid of losing someone who hasn't even decided if she wants you yet. Women feel this instantly, not because you said something wrong, but because your energy exposes your fear. They sense the nervousness in the tone of your messages. They notice the speed of your replies. They can tell when you're trying too hard to keep the conversation alive. They can feel the pressure you place on yourself just to keep her attention. It's not the words you choose, it's the urgency behind them. Women can feel it when a man is speaking from fear, not strength, from insecurity, not confidence, from pressure, not presence. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who looks like he's asking for permission to be liked. A man who looks like he needs approval to breathe. A man who tries to impress instead of simply being himself. A man who attaches too fast, hoping she'll see his value before he sees it in himself. Here's the truth: women will never say directly they don't want a man who needs their attention. They want a man whose attention feels earned. A man who gives his presence because he chooses to, not because he's terrified of losing her. A man who shows interest, but not obsession. A man who talks with calmness and clarity, not anxiety and fear. A man who moves slowly enough to let her desire wake up naturally. Because when your attention feels rare, it feels valuable. And when it feels valuable, she starts paying attention. She starts leaning in. She starts wondering about you, instead of assuming she already has you. This is the shift that quietly grows her interest. Not loua effort, but quiété confidence. Not chasing, but choosing. And it all starts with learning to pause, to breathe, to hold your center before you give too much, too soon. The simple trick that makes women chase. Here it is, the shift that turns the entire dynamic around. Most men think the secret is to act cold, to pull away, to ignore her until she misses them. But that's not the trick. That's panic wearing a mask. Coldness is really insecurity pretending to be strength. Ignoring someone is fear pretending to be confidence. Pulling away on purpose is still a reaction to your anxiety. And women can feel all of that instantly. They can sense when your calmness is real and when it's fake. They can tell when you're grounded and when you're acting. The real power, the part that changes everything, is this: act from calm intention, not from pressure. This is what truly high-value men do naturally. They don't rush because they're afraid to lose her. They don't respond instantly just to keep her attention. They don't talk endlessly just to fill silence. They don't perform or pretend or push. They act from a place of calm, clarity, and self-control. They choose their pace. They choose their words. They choose their presence. So what does this look like in real life, in simple terms? It looks like replying when you actually want to reply, not when you're scared she might talk to someone else. It looks like speaking a little slower, like you're not trying to fix the conversation. It looks like letting a silence happen without assuming she's losing interest. It looks like smiling because you feel it, not because you're trying to charm her. It looks like showing interest, but not giving your whole heart away before she's even earned a piece of it. These small changes seem tiny, but they completely transform the energy between you. Because now, she doesn't feel your pressure, she feels your presence. She doesn't feel your fear, she feels your calm. She doesn't feel like you're chasing, she feels like you're choosing. And for the first time, she has something she rarely gets from most men: space. Space to wonder what you're thinking. Space to feel your calmness. Space to see your confidence without you pushing it. Space to lean in instead of being pushed away. Space to try for your attention instead of being handed it instantly. And curiosity is the beginning of desire. When a woman is curious about you, she starts thinking about you, even when you're not there. She rereads your messages. She tries to understand your tone. She studies your timing. She pays attention to your energy. She starts asking herself questions. Why is he so relaxed? Why doesn't he seem scared to lose me? What makes him this confident? What is he thinking? Does he like me, or is he just unshakable? These questions are the spark of attraction. This is when the chase begins. Not because you played games, but because your calmness created a pull she couldn't ignore. Most men speak from insecurity. Few speak from intention. Most men panic when there's silence. Few feel comfortable inside it. Most men try endlessly to impress. Few make a woman want to impress them, and that is why the man who acts from calm intention stands out instantly, effortlessly. To a woman, this energy feels like mystery, confidence, emotional control. self-worth, strength without noise, interest without neediness. You become the man she tries to understand, the man she tries to read, the man she tries to impress, the man she tries to win, not because you're hiding anything, not because you're pretending, but because you carry a quiet depth that she can feel but cannot decode. And exactly that is what sparks the chase. Why this trick works. Psychology made simple. Now let's talk about why this simple shift has such a powerful effect on a woman's mind. It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's not some secret pickup trick. It's basic, natural human psychology. Desire grows the strongest when something is close enough to imagine having, but not so close that it feels guaranteed. When something feels possible, within reach, but not fully in your hands. That's when the human brain becomes the most curious, the most focused, and the most emotionally engaged. And that middle zone, where she has access to you, where you're not distant or cold, but also not giving yourself away too easily, that is the exact space where attraction is born. Here's why. When something is too available, the mind relaxes. It stops valuing it. It takes it for granted almost instantly. But when something is too far away, the mind gives up on it completely. Real desire lives right between those 2 points. So when you stay calm, when you don't rush to reply, when you don't jump at every message, when you allow a moment of silence, when you don't hand over all your attention and emotion instantly, you create a gentle, irresistible tension. A "what is he thinking?" tension. A "why does he feel so different?" tension. A "why can't I read him so easily?" tension. And suddenly, without meaning to, her mind starts doing the work. She begins to notice small details about you that she wouldn't have paid attention to before. She pays more attention to your tone, your timing, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. She replays your messages in her head, trying to understand you. She pays attention to your pauses, your calmness, your confidence. She begins to wonder, why is he so composed? Why doesn't he seem nervous like other guys? What makes him this sure of himself? Does he like me? Or is he simply this confident? Why can't I fully figure him out? These questions don't annoy her. They pull her in. They make her feel alive. Because uncertainty creates excitement. Excitement creates emotional attachment. And attachment slowly turns into desire. This is the same psychological pattern behind every powerful crush, every deep fascination, every "I can't stop thinking about him" moment. When her mind starts working harder around you, her emotions begin to connect to you. This is why women end up chasing the man who gives interest without dependence, who offers presence without pressure, who gives connection without clinginess. A man who is warm enough to feel safe, but grounded enough to feel strong. Available enough to feel close, but independent enough to feel valuable. A man who enjoys her, but doesn't lose himself in the process. A man who can appreciate her, but doesn't make her his entire world overnight. That balance, that quiet, steady confidence, is what draws a woman in. It makes her want to step toward you instead of stepping away. Because deep down, in every woman's mind and heart, there is one instinct she trusts more than anything. A man who is in control of himself is a man worth chasing. And when she feels that energy from you, the chase begins on its own. How to use this trick today? Now that you understand the psychology, here's how you bring it to life. Not next week, not someday, but in your very next conversation with a woman. These actions seem small, almost too simple, but their impact is huge because they shift the energy between you. The first shift is learning what not to do. Don't reply instantly. Instant replies send a silent message. "I was just waiting for you." A calm pause shows something completely different, that you have your own rhythm, your own pace, your own life. It shows you are not dependent on her attention to feel good. Don't overshare. You don't need to tell your whole story in one night. You don't need to explain your past, your plans, and your emotions before she has even earned a window into your world. Share pieces, not pages. Let her get curious. Don't rush to entertain. You are not a show. You don't need to keep the conversation filled every second, just to avoid silence. Let things breathe. Let her contribute. Let her wonder. Don't explain yourself endlessly. A confident man doesn't justify every choice, every delay, or every change of plan. If you're busy, say so. If you're tired, say so. You don't owe long essays to someone you just met. Don't try to win her as fast as possible. Attraction is not a race. The men who rush are the first to lose. Desire grows slowly, naturally, when you stop forcing it. So what should you do instead? Keep a calm tone. Your calmness is magnetic. Women feel safe around calmness, and safety is one of the deepest building blocks of desire. Speak with confidence. That doesn't mean being loud, arrogant, or dominant. It simply means slowing down, breathing, and choosing your words instead of spilling them. Allow pauses. Silence is not awkward when your energy is steady. Silence is a moment for her to feel you. It's a moment for curiosity to rise. Say less and mean more. Short, sincere messages carry weight. Long, nervous explanations feel like pressure. Let your words be simple, clear, and grounded. Let her come closer on her own. When you stop chasing, you create a space where she feels free to move toward you. Women are far more responsive when they feel like they are choosing you, not being pushed toward you. And here's the part that shocks most men. The moment you shift your energy, her energy shifts right back. She starts leaning in. She becomes softer, warmer, more curious. She begins initiating conversations. She laughs more. She pays attention to your tone and your presence. She gives you signs she never gave before. Not because you tricked her, not because you played some cold game, not because you pretended to be someone else, but because you finally acted from calm intention instead of pressure. You stopped sending the message, "I need you to like me," and began sending the message, "I like you, but I choose my own pace." A woman can feel that difference from a mile away. And that difference is what turns mild interest into real pursuit. It's the moment the entire dynamic flips. It's the moment you stop being another man chasing her and become the man she starts chasing herself. The shift she feels instantly. At the end of the day, women don't chase the loudest man, the man shouting for attention, the man flashing money, or the man trying the hardest to prove he's worth choosing. They chase the man who feels centered, the man whose calmness says more than any loud, dramatic performance ever could. They chase the man who carries himself with a quiet, natural confidence. Not the forced kind, not the bragging kind, but the kind that comes from genuinely knowing who he is. They chase the man whose presence feels grounded, steady, unshaken, the man who doesn't need to be the center of the room because he is already the center of himself. They chase the man who is understood just enough to feel warm and safe, but still unreadable enough to feel exciting and unpredictable. A man who is familiar and mysterious at the same time. They chase the man who gives attention with intention, not attention thrown out like candy to anyone who glances his way, not attention fueled by fear of losing her or pressure to impress or anxiety about being liked. They chase the man who can enjoy her company without handing over his entire soul after one good conversation. A man who can like her without collapsing into neediness. They chase the man who can smile at her without melting for her. A man who can care for her without clinging to her. A man who can feel something without losing himself inside it. They chase the man whose silence feels strong, not awkward, not insecure, not shaky, but calm, deliberate, powerful. Silence that feels like confidence, not fear. Silence that makes her lean in, not pull away. They chase the man whose pauses feel intentional, whose gaze feels steady, whose presence feels like he knows exactly who he is, with or without her. A man whose energy is stable enough to trust, yet mysterious enough to desire. Because deep down, every woman instinctively feels this truth. A man who can control himself is a man worth chasing. A man who owns his emotions, his reactions, his pace, his presence. That man becomes unforgettable. That man becomes rare. And that's why this one simple shift changes everything. When you act from calm intention instead of pressure, when you stop overreacting, overthinking, overgiving, when you stop rushing to prove your worth, you stop being the man who waits for her approval, and you become the man she can't stop thinking about. You become the man who lives in the back of her mind, hours after the conversation ends. The man she looks for, even when she pretends she's not. The man she pays attention to, because she can't fully read you. The man she tries to impress, because she suddenly wants your approval, not the other way around. The man she chases, because something in your calmness pulls her toward you, like gravity. That is the shift. That is the moment everything flips. That is the moment she realizes you were never trying to win her. You were the one she was meant to chase all along.